So I've written down some of your answers. I want you to see you're not alone, and maybe still your confusion on this. So it's okay. It's all right. That's why we're reviewing. Okay, so don't feel like you're one of who doesn't get it, and there's 12 others here that understand. Okay, so let's go back and think about negative and positive numbers from yesterday. One trick I think that might help when you're thinking of adding and subtracting negative and positive numbers. If the signs are the same, think about this. If the signs are the same, it's an addition problem. The final answer will have the same sign as the two numbers that were the same sign. Okay? What I mean by that is, if I have 3 plus 2, it's an addition problem and I get 5. If I have negative 7 minus 5, the signs are the same, right? Even if I do it this way, which is sometimes why people write it plus negative, so you think addition. But this has to be negative for it to be an addition problem. Both numbers have to be the same sign for you to think addition. Okay, and why does this work? Well, what's 7 plus 5? 12, and the sign on both is negative, so negative 7 plus negative 5 is negative 12. Let's think of it on the number line. This is 0, this is negative 7. I need to go further. So I start at negative 7, and I keep going left. Right? So now it's a negative 12, which is what I got. Okay? So if both numbers have a positive sign, it's addition. If both numbers have a negative sign, it's addition. The final answer has the negative sign. With me? Okay. If both numbers are opposite signs, it will always be a subtraction problem. So you could just forget the signs, subtract the two numbers, and then the sign of your answer is the sign of the largest number. Okay, let's talk about that one. This is kind of a review from yesterday, but if I have this positive number, negative number, I know it's subtraction. I subtract the two numbers, I get 4. Which one's bigger, positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative, so my answer is negative 4. Okay, so you can just forget about the signs once you've identified it's a subtraction problem. Forget about the signs, subtract it, and then assign the sign to it based on the larger number. Okay, 4 minus 8. Well, it's 8 minus 4, but 8's bigger, negative 4. Okay, so if they're both positive, you add. If they're both negative, you add, but the final number is negative because I just went further negative. I started at a negative and I just kept going negative. So I'm a bigger negative number now. If one sign's positive, one's negative, I subtract, and then I just assign the sign based on the larger number. Okay? So now let's go back and do this problem together. Negative 1/2 plus negative 3/5. So I know right away it's an addition problem. My final answer will be negative. So let's just forget the negatives now. I've done that up front. And I know when I get my final answer, it's got to have a negative sign in front of it. So now I'm just going to add these two fractions together. Okay? Crisscross, you want to do that one? You want to do a different? Doesn't matter. Crisscross, 10. 5 plus 6. 11 over 10, but it's negative 11 over 10.
Wow, I'm so proud of myself. Me too. I did not. We're the only ones. I didn't.
Okay, so let's talk through, maybe look at your work if you haven't erased it yet. Those of you who didn't get it right, where was the confusion? Was it on the positive negative or was it on the fractions?
Oh, because I multiplied.
Anyone?
Me too.
You multiplied?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not multiplication unless this is a times sign, or sometimes you'll see multiplication like this.
Oh yeah. Anybody need a tissue almost?
If you see parentheses butted up against each other, this is multiplication. If you see a plus or minus in front between them, it's always an addition or subtraction. Kira.
Jaden doesn't understand where you got the 6. Yeah.
Where I got what?
Where did she get a 5 from?
Because you did the cross.
Sorry, I forgot to put my arrows. 5 times 1 is 5.
Okay, I see now.
2 times 3 is 6. My fault. I forgot to put the arrows. Yep, so the crisscross method is multiply the denominator and then crisscross. Okay, let's do it the other way. 1/2 plus 3/5. What is the least common multiple? 10, right? So to get 10 here, I'm going to multiply by 5, but I have to do that to the top so that I have that identity maintained. To get 10 here, I've got to multiply by 2. I have to do that on top. So now I just multiply across here, I get 5/10. And I multiply here, I get 6/10, which is still 11/10. And then I have to make it negative because both of those numbers were negative. So it just got further negative. Are we good?
I don't really know how I got.
Do we want, let's look at this one. This is an addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. Multiplication. So everybody do this one. Negative 1/2 times negative 3/5.
Oh. Minus?
It's multiplication because it's got 2 parentheses. It's not minus unless it has a minus between the parentheses. We're doing this one right here. Okay, yep. Throw me some answers out.
3/10.
I hear negative 3/10.
Negative 3. Positive. Two negatives make it positive. It's positive. I got it right. Yeah, me too. Me too.
Anyone get a different answer?
Nope.
No.
Okay, so the first thing we could do here is analyze what the sign of the resulting answer is going to be. A negative times a negative is a positive. So I know the answer is going to be positive. And now I can just look at the fractions. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 5 is 10. 3/10, and it can't be simplified. Okay, I'm going to give you another one from our worksheet now.
Do the elementary. Oh, I got it. Yeah. I don't want to say the answer. Oh, it would be okay, I'm done.
Anybody still working? Okay, keep working.
We should use the thing when we the kindergarten way. It just looks like a pencil. Yeah. I think I know. God, it is so wrong. No.
Throw me some of your answers out.
8, 9.
Eight, nine.
Wait, I heard 2.
You're in 2.
8 9.
8 9s.
That one half.
1/2.
Oh, I did did it wrong.
It's all right. Any others? Okay, so when we look at this problem, the first thing I want you to think about is the signs. They're both negative. When you divide two negatives, it's always a positive. So I know this is true. And I could even drop it now. I could drop both signs if it confuses me. And I could just rewrite it this way. Right? Because this is the same thing. I'm going to get the same thing. Signs are the same. Okay? So now let's look at this. When I divide by a fraction, what? Good. When I divide by a fraction, I multiply by the reciprocal. If you can get that mantra in your head, it'll help. Because as you talk it through, you can just follow your own words in the problem. So when I divide by a fraction, I multiply by the reciprocal.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to just go straight across.
Got it right. Yes, Kira, we got it right.
I did it the crisscross way.
Now that's addition and subtraction only.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, addition and subtraction is the only time you need a common denominator. The only time you're going to have to use the crisscross method if you choose to. Multiplication, division, no denominator, just multiply cross. So to get a division to a multiplication problem, you got to take the reciprocal. Everybody feeling a little better? Okay, I've got another before we're done with class, and we'll see how everybody does on this one.
Charlie got a little cocky. No, I
She did.
She was wrong. I did it.
You can't make fun of her. Come on.
She makes fun of me.
Okay, I'm going to give you a hint to get started. I'm going to give you a hint to get started. The denominator in this problem needs to be one fraction, not two numbers. So the first step in this problem is to look at the denominator and get one single fraction. So you have one fraction in the denominator, not a fraction and a number. I just want one number in the denominator. That's your first step. So focus on the denominator first. That's my hint.
And then
Don't be intimidated by problems that look this complicated. If you just take them one step at a time, you'll gradually get where you need to go. This is negative 3/4 divided by negative 1/3 plus 1.
Oh, I know how to do it.
I got it! Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of myself.
Look at me, I'm getting it. So.
We only have like 2 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and work through it, even though I know you're still working, and I apologize I didn't give you more time. But my hint was focus on the denominator first, right?
I think I got it.
Negative 1/3 plus 1. How do I add these two numbers? Make one as a fraction. What's my, I want to crisscross it, or
You could just.
do you want to just find?
Yeah.
Yep, I could just make this 3/3. What's negative 1 plus 3?
It's 4.
No.
Wait, no, it's
Negative 4.
2.
Wait. It's 3. It's positive. Is it positive? Or positive?
Right? Let's not do that. So my starting point is negative 1. What direction am I going to go?
It's positive.
Right.
1, 2, 3. Yes.
I didn't even get it.
What are you confused with, Emma? Okay, everybody good? Draw your number line if they're still hard for you. There's no
confused.
There's no shame in that. Use your tools. Okay, so the denominator is 2/3. So I have negative 3/4 divided by 2/3. Someone tell me what the sign of the final answer is going to be. Negative, because a negative divided by a positive is a negative. So forget anything else now. We're just working on the sign. Now, the way I could write this so that it makes more sense to you, negative 3/4 divided by 2/3. That's what this means. Okay? If you need to write it this way so you can understand it, then do that. Give yourself all the tools you can as you're going. So I know this is negative 3/4 times what? A negative times a positive is a negative. 3 times 3 is 9 over 8.
I got it right.
Good job.
Wow, Kira, you are the class leader.
It was a complicated problem. It took lots of skills that we've learned the past 2 days, but if you just do it step by step, don't get intimidated by complexity. They're really just little problems inside that problem. You just have to start one place and work your way up. Okay? Fraction review. Feeling a little better on fractions now?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll keep going with review again tomorrow.
Kira, I'm pretty sure you've got everything.
Okay, good work. Go ahead and, there's only 1 minute left.